Welcome to 5 and 5 from One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key design decisions about a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today we're looking at Final Hour from Fantasy Flight Games. Quick disclaimer, I was sent a review copy of this game. I'll be honest right up front that I had very low expectations going into Final Hour. The idea of a streamlined Arkham game that basically removes all of the story didn't really appeal to me. On top of that, talking to people who played the game at Gen Con, I heard very mixed results on their experiences. So did I agree with their assessment playing it solo and co-op? Let's find out and get to the list. We're going to start with a con for number 5, and that's the overall board design and how it affects the functionality of the game. For investigators to move, they have to follow these little walkways, which are paths on the board, but they're not always too easy to see. Similarly, monsters will move along blue or red pathways, but they're usually very small arrows, and when you're moving a lot of monsters at once, it can take a while. Add on that the board is divided into 3 sections by color, and seeing which enemies are going to activate on a given action isn't too obvious. The game is very simple and very accessible, but the graphic design of the board does prevent a little barrier to entry that I wish wasn't there. Following a con with a mix, let's get into the enemies and the great old ones you'll face. On the positive side, the enemies and the bosses are very streamlined and simple to run, and the game is easy to teach. Enemies generally only have 3 effects. They can hurt you, they can move, and they can blow up spaces on the board. And the 3 great old ones that come in the box each have this little chart of effects, but they tend to have sort of a theme to them, and they're very easy to understand and resolve. But on the negative side, this might feel like too much streamlining. Like the fact that there are basically only 3 types of enemies despite their different health might let some people down. And although the great old ones are fairly differentiated, in the end it pretty much just works out to dealing damage to you or spawning enemies, so they don't feel as different as they could. We've got another mix on number 3, and that's the characters you play and how they're differentiated. There are 6 characters in the core game, and the only difference between them is their unique action decks. And they do feel fairly different. Some of them can do a lot of damage, some of them move incredibly quickly, some of them have fun tricks like teleporting around the board. But once again, this is a very streamlined system, so there just aren't that many effects available to characters. In the end, you're pretty much moving, investigating, or attacking. Everything else is little variations on that, so they don't feel, again, as different as they might. But hey, I think it's about time for a pro, and we're going to get one with number 2, which is how the game ends. So the general gist of the ending is you're building up cards and slowly investigating to figure out which cards you need to win the game. And you can try to stop the ritual and win the game at the end of any round, but the longer you wait, the more sure you are you'll actually win, but also the longer you wait, the more likely you'll lose from the enemies attacking. It builds great tension and suspense, and every time you flip over those 2 tokens and see whether you won or lost is super exciting. Now, I will say this is pretty much identical to the ending of Salvation Road, our first published design, so clearly I'm going to be in favor of this and some people might not enjoy it as much. But for me and the people I've played it with, it's definitely been an exciting winner. And following one pro with another, here at the most important end of our list, I love the way actions are chosen and resolved in this game, both in the solo and the co-op play. In co-op mode, players can't talk to each other, so think of other limited communication games like Magic Maze or The Mind. Instead, they draw actions which will have positive and negative effects on them, and sometimes the positive won't be that useful, sometimes the negative will be minor or super devastating. And you play these priority cards on them with the number indicating to your friends, hey, we really want this one to be low, we really want this one to be high. And that's all the communication you can give each other, the number of that card. So it builds, again, a great tension and this feeling of camaraderie when you get things to work out in just the right way. The solo mode is similarly engaging in that you draw one action at a time and you get to decide whether it's going to be the positive or the negative side. But you're never quite sure what the next card is going to be. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to suck up this current action to give yourself the potential of a positive later? And while these are somewhat random choices, the board state for solo and co-op gives you a ton of information. You can see exactly what monsters are going to do what. So it feels a little bit random, a little bit chaotic, but also feels like a great puzzle that can be solved, and solving that puzzle is really satisfying. Overall, despite some of the negatives, this game was a huge surprise for me. I have really enjoyed it, and so has everyone I've played it with in co-op play. Yes, it's super streamlined, the enemies aren't that different, the great old ones aren't that different, the characters aren't that different, but all that plays into having a really tight runtime and really easy rules to master. And once you get that stuff out of the way, the puzzle of playing your cards, the tension of that ending, the suspense of just waiting one more turn to win, it's really great for such a light, quick game. But this game is is not going to be for everyone. I think some people will hate the ending and feel like it's a random win-loss instead of the suspense that I feel with it. Also, like I said at the beginning, if you're coming into this expecting an Arkham-style kind of narrative and theme, you're not going to get that much here. They have cut almost everything that's flavor and just gotten right to the mechanics. So if you like limited communication, if you like some suspense and randomness in whether you win, I think this game could be a big hit for your group. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.